Karen Smith, and we on the corner, ladies and gentlemen. So today is our live stream, and we're covering two topics today. Two topics. Bill Maher is talking to us about how the Democrats and some people are going crazy on the left and ruining Christmas and the holidays, and secondly is how AOC just lost an election, and some younger Democrats are pretty pissed about that because they're like, "Hey, man, the Republicans are catching on, and they're letting young people lead. You guys are screwing us over." So, you guys give me a minute. I'll be right back. I'm going to play some music that I'm probably going to have to end up editing out of the live because YouTube's going to clip me for it. But it is what it is. I'll be back, guys. Into this reaction, so we're going to start off with Bill Maher.
Finally, no, can we please not let politics fuck up the holidays? Anybody with me on this?
Amen.
I mean, half the country is moping, half can't stop gloating. Enough! It's fucking Christmas and you act like it. Christmas season and all that. I don't want to read any more articles like the one about the Trump-loving county sheriff in Ohio who posted on Facebook before the election, "If you support the Democratic Party, I will not help you." Well, thank you for your service, worst responder.
Worst responder.
I wonder the sign in a patrol car says to protect and swerve.
Look at that. It says to protect and swerve on the side. Mind you, at the time that this was going on, I thought it was absolutely crazy. I remember right before the election, and literally months after that, when people started putting up their little signs about who they're going to support, you had like first responders, ambulance, firefighters. It was ridiculous just saying things like, "Hey, if you see any Trump signs on anyone's lawn, like don't go there, don't help them. You know, we're going to avoid that house." I thought that was absolutely crazy. So Bill Maher's making a great point here. That's why he's like, this madness has got to stop. And further on in the video, he's going to talk about, you know what, there just might be great people on both sides, which he makes a great point there.
Hey, asshole, it's your job to help people, all people, not just the ones you agree with. And I would say the same to the FEMA supervisor in Florida who told the rank-and-file relief workers after Hurricane Milton to avoid helping homes with Trump signs on their lawns.
That's crazy.
This shit has got to stop on both sides.
A FEMA agent, after a natural disaster, telling workers to avoid houses that have Trump signs on them. Ridiculous.
This is America. I want to be judged by the content of my character, not what's on my lawn. There's a great article that came out in the Free Press this year by someone who learned this firsthand. It's called "Whatever Happens, Love Thy Neighbor." And it tells of how a married...
A Democrat here. Whatever happens, love thy neighbor. I'm a Democrat living in a red rural county. Trump supporters have mowed my lawn, walked my dog, and eroded my prejudices with their humanity. So this person is actually shocked. They apparently moved. Bill's going to get a little bit into it, but they apparently moved. I believe it was from the city to the suburbs, and they were surrounded around Trump supporters, and they were apparently going crazy. But to their shock, the people were nice, which I don't think has anything to do with them being Trump supporters. More with them to just being decent people, at least I would hope. But let's see what he says.
Couple who are exactly the portrait of a liberal white couple living in Parksville, Brooklyn, that you would expect, wind up moving upstate and then are surrounded by Trumpers, and they're petrified. But then, when they get stuck in the snow, the Trump guy down the street doesn't hesitate to help dig the liberals out. The author, Larissa Phillips, says she slowly came to reject the political prejudice so common among my tribe, and that it's hard to care where someone stands on politics when they race to your house to save a dying lamb, when their wife helps search for your runaway dogs, and that she personally has been stunned by the depth of my neighbor's generosity. It's almost like there are fine people on both sides.
It's almost like there are fine people on both sides. So I think it's interesting what this lady says here. I'm going to go back in the article and read it. She says, it's hard to care what someone stands on. It's hard to care where someone stands on politics when they race to your house to save a dying lamb, when their wife helps search for your runaway dogs. Personally, I've been stunned by the depth of my neighbor's generosity. And that's when Bill starts saying, it sounds like there's decent people on both sides.
Generosity. It's almost like there are fine people on both sides.
Almost like it.
And that human beings are complicated. If we're going to remain a viable society, there must be some things that transcend politics, like disaster relief. And
I think it's hilarious that Bill has to even say this. There should be some things that transcend politics. Ladies and gentlemen, can I just be honest with you? A lot of things should transcend politics. Like, what are we talking about? It's politics. Just politics. I mean, they're important. I like them. A lot of people like them. I care about them. You know, they run it. Like, listen, at the end of the day, there's so many more things that are more important than politics. And I hate watching these conversations, because you either have people that are too afraid to step into conversations like that, or you have people that when they step into them, their sole goal is to like convert you over to the other party, or make you understand why they think what they think. And I just think it's interesting that Bill has to even say there are some things that should transcend politics. A lot of things should transcend politics. One thing he said literally was a disaster. I'm like, are you kidding me? Way more than a disaster. Family, friends, friendships, relationships. A lot of things should transcend politics. So I think it's so shallow when people literally will end a relationship because you vote for the opposite political party. It's very childish.
law enforcement and helping neighbors. And fucking Christmas!
Yes, Christmas should transcend politics. Absolutely.
I get it. That for the Democrats, this was a brutal loss. But the plan to deal with has to be something better than stay in a snit and take advantage of this magical time of year to cut people off. The Huffington Post has articles like, my husband voted for Trump, so I'm canceling Thanksgiving and Christmas.
And that's just crazy. Look at what this post says. This Huff post says, my husband and his family voted for Trump, so I'm canceling Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's literally ridiculous. That's literally ridiculous. But so many people, I mean, you have women saying that they're not going to sleep with their husbands, with their boyfriends. And I mean, ladies and gentlemen, so many things should transcend politics. I hope that we are not in this godforsaken space where we're literally cutting off people, relationships, canceling holidays because someone voted for a donkey or elephant. I would hope that we're past that, but guess not.
Oh, gee, not having to buy you a present. That'll teach him. But family isn't like gender. You can't fix it by cutting off members.
Behave yourself, man.
The chief psychiatric resident at Yale University, Amanda Calhoun, recently told Joy Reid it's okay to cut off family members if they voted for Trump and tell them, I'm not going to be around you this holiday. Oh, how pure. It's like not letting certain people sit with you on the bus.
And then he shows a picture of Rosa Parks.
She also said that it shouldn't be automatic that family members think they're entitled to your time. She said that's just a societal norm. Family. Who do they think they are? Family? I mean, think about that. A mental health professional advising people to isolate during the holidays. And don't forget to drink too much and put on weight.
You know, to the mental health professionals' defense, not that they necessarily need it, but I'm a huge advocate for mental health. So what Bill's saying here is partially true. He's saying, imagine that a mental health professional telling someone to isolate during the holidays. I don't think that that's the mental health professional's goal. I think what's being said here is that, hey, if you know that you're going to walk into an environment where you're basically going to lose your mind because you're going to be in a party of toxic for 20, you're okay with not showing up. It took me years to get to this point where I was okay with that, because coming from a very family-oriented background, I can feel pretty guilty for not spending the holidays with my family. But there are some times where I have taken a step back and I have went to other things and done other things with other people, and let those occasions kind of trump me being with my family members, not because I didn't want to be with them, but maybe because I knew where I was on my way to might be better for me from more of a mental health standpoint, right? We don't want to offend our family members, even though I think that's almost impossible not to do. Some people just kind of walk in the spirit of offense. But yeah, like to what Bill is saying, the mental health specialist is not telling the person don't be around your family or isolate yourself. They're saying, hey, if you know it's toxic for a party of 10, don't show up, and I think that's perfectly okay.
And this Thanksgiving, before the big meal, remember to take turns saying what you're hateful about. You know who I really wouldn't want to have Thanksgiving dinner with? This overly educated, i.e. extremely stupid, ivory tower academic. But I would. Because if we ever want this nation to heal, this is what we have to do. Force ourselves to reach out and find out why someone feels the way they do and make the choices they make without prejudging them a monster. And they must do the same for you. I mean, what? Thank you, one guy.
I think Bill makes a great point here. You know, sitting down with people and having hard conversations. I'm a huge advocate for having hard conversations. And many people are not big fans of hard conversations. I understand why now. I didn't always. Years of therapy actually helped me get to a point where I was able to understand that. But he makes a great point here. So for those of you that are going to be spending this time of year with your family, I just pray that you take care of yourselves, because you have to make sure you're okay before you're around them. Everyone's not doing the work that you're doing. I realized that over the years. You know, I was very naive and I thought, don't we all want to go to therapy and get better and figure ourselves out as we become adults so we can be accountable people? And it turns out, actually, no. The answer is no. Everyone doesn't feel that way. So if you are going to be around your family this year, just make sure that you're not just ready to do that, but you're grounded enough to do that. You're healthy enough, you're sound enough to do that. And if you feel like you're not, or the minute you get around them, they're going to dysregulate the hell out of you, then maybe that's not the place where you should be this holiday season. So, next topic, guys. But with that being said, Merry Christmas to everyone who celebrates. With that being said, next topic. AOC loses key show of support and pushed to serve as top Democrat on Oversight Committee. I thought this story was hilarious, disappointing, and just a lot all at once. I mean, AOC losing this, I feel like this was a blow for the Democrats. They might not feel like that, but I understand the argument here. I understand why younger Democrats were upset about her loss. I understand why she feels like they're trying to hold on to seats, and they're not trying to let the next generation kind of come in. And the type of person AOC is, she can be very pivotal for the Democrats. What do I mean by that? Well, AOC has 8.1 million followers, I believe it is. If not on Instagram, it's on a platform. Maybe it's on YouTube. I'll double check my facts. But she has 8.1 million followers, to my understanding. And the person that she lost this election to, I believe they compared their followers, and he's at like 4,776 or something like that. Granted, this is also a 71 or 76-year-old, 71-year-old gentleman, I believe he is. I gotta double check this. Give me 1 second, guys. I like to double check my facts. I know his name is Gerry Connolly. Dude, the way they talked about this guy in this article, National Review, it was literally crazy. Like, they even made a reference to the Golden Girls. I was like, oh wow, we're going there, huh? That's kind of crazy. Gerry Connolly should be the next ranking member of the oversight. Less than half the age of 74-year-old Connolly. So, and you would think I remember this because it's on the thumbnail, but I prepared that thumbnail a little bit ago. Not like weeks ago, but a little bit ago for you guys, so I haven't been like staring at it. But he's 74 years old, and I believe AOC is 35. So, not that her losing to a 74-year-old is bad, but I get the argument here. So I want to take a look at this. I guess this. It's not really, the Washington Post is not covering it. It's actually MSNBC, and I really don't like to watch things by MSNBC They're not my favorite network at all. But it was a very short. It was a very short clip, 2 minutes and 44 seconds, and they make a very key point here about why it's bad that she actually lost. So I thought that I would look at this and you guys would watch this with me because we need to take a look at why they are saying it's a bad thing that she lost. And then there's also some other things looming in the background as to why she lost, but they don't really talk about it here on MSNBC, which is not surprising. So let's jump right in.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez lost a key show of support yesterday in her push to serve as the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee next year. The powerful Steering and Policy Committee recommended Congressman Gerry Connolly of Virginia instead. While that panel wields strong influence over the party, the results are not final until full caucus votes today.
So, Congressman, let me ask you about that. AOC, obviously, she energizes younger voters. They really do. And even across party lines, they're energized by her. I know the establishment, the Democratic Party, not going to be as excited. Some of her views will be left of center where probably the mainstream Democratic caucus is. But how does she get involved in a meaningful way? She lost the race yesterday. That certainly would have done it. But what's a good pathway forward? Because, again, the challenge for Democrats, stop firing at each other, right? And instead, figure out how to get the progressive wing, which I've said time and again, they were in many ways pretty patient during the Biden administration, going along with some bills they didn't agree with, and the more conservative to moderate wing. How do they get together, move forward with a common goal of winning elections?
I think Hakeem Jeffries is going to, the leader of the Democratic Party in the House, is going to have to figure out how to position someone like her, because you run into the inertia of Congress. On the Republican side, you have 6-year term limits for committee chairs. On the Democratic side, you do not. So people can get into the leadership position, and really there's no movement. And I think that was a lot of frustration for guys like me and others who are trying to climb the ladder or get into positions. It just takes so much time. But she's such a powerful voice, I think, for the party, and I think you see how she handled the Trump Bernie voter phenomenon,
exactly,
about how to really talk to. I think she's trying to educate Democrats on how do you talk to people about these working class economic issues in order.
And that's the big thing about AOC. She does do that. How do you talk to the working class about these economic issues? She's really big on kind of helping the Democrats kind of bridge that gap that they really do have really badly, and they seem to not always want to kind of acknowledge it. And some of that could be because of age, what some of this argument is about. But that is one thing that AOC is known for. She's very known for speaking very broadly and boldly about what she feels. She does not hold back. I've seen her in plenty of court hearings. My wife and I watch them all of the time, Congress and the court hearings, and she's always on fire. So, I mean, as far as if you think about the next generation coming in, the younger generation coming in, and you think about how the Democratic Party is kind of hurting right now, I don't think that she would necessarily be a bad choice. Some people think she's far, far, far left. I wouldn't say really far left. I don't think I would agree to that just yet. But I mean, I guess sometimes it could seem like that. But I feel like this was a big hit for the Democrats with her not actually winning this election, because they're hurting really badly. And somebody like her, who has such a large following and who has so many people paying attention to her, this could have been beneficial for them.
To bring them into the fold, whether you're in agreement on the solution of redistribution or grow the pie, democratic socialism, or reform capitalism, that's the argument you should have. But she's clearly very talented in understanding how to connect the working class people, so she needs a place in the party to talk about those things.
Yeah, I agree. She needs a place in the party to talk about those things, and I hope that the Democrats wake up, and if they want to build a strong cabinet, they are going to need people who are not afraid, and AOC is definitely one of them. I'm not going to disclose who, but I was speaking to someone close to me today, and I said to them, hey, did you hear that AOC lost the election? And they said, oh, wow, she lost? And I said, yeah, she did. And they're like, we're effed. So I just thought it was hilarious that was their initial reaction, because she's a strong candidate. And really what's being set up, let's see here, National Review, they actually did an article here. I encourage you guys to go find it and read it. They published it on December 18th, 2024 at 10:23 a.m. And it's titled Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC loses an election. So in this story, they really cover some things that are looming in the background that they're not really covering on mainstream media, like the fact that a lot of the Democrats who who their seat was, I guess you could say, essentially up for grabs. They didn't have any competition from any younger members within their party. So it's kind of like if it was and they list some people: 71-year-old, 76-year-old, 86-year-old, 81-year-old men and women. But they're saying that, isn't it interesting that there was no one younger there to compete with them for this seat, and they ended up keeping their seats. Yeah, I thought that was extremely interesting. Some reporters, some people on the Democratic side, especially young Democrats, they were extremely upset. They said that her loss was actually very depressing for them, like extremely depressing. And they just kind of are leaning towards the fact that what they believe is a fact of the older people in the Democratic Party aren't really giving up the seats. They aren't letting the younger generation come in and, start to lead the country. And some people feel like, the Republicans are catching on to this, and I get why they say that. We see JD Vance, which is pivotal because he's young, but he's a young vice president, right? So he's in a very pivotal position and very young. And then we also see Vivek, so we see, I believe that they are, I believe Tulsi's going to be picked for something, and I believe she's, fairly young. So we see a rather younger cabinet on the Republican side, whereas on the Democratic side, we see a lot of the older people just kind of staying there, not really moving. And yeah, I feel like this was actually a bad hit for them. I really do. Hopefully this looks different coming up. Another thing looming in the background is they're kind of saying that AOC was supposedly going to be being groomed as like the presidential candidate for 2028. I thought this was remarkable because they made an interesting reference to two presidents that lost. A Democratic president that lost really, really bad, and then to a Republican, and then they came back with a Democratic president. I think this was McGovern and Richard Nixon. No. This was Richard Nixon and Humphrey. Hubert Humphrey. All right. Okay, let me read this. Check this out. It says, these are two gentlemen talking, and this is within the news article of the National Review. A guy named Hugh says, I'm going to get you to go out on a limb early here, because in 1968, Republicans won a fractured, violent-filled upheaval of an election when Richard Nixon beat Hubert Humphrey. Yep, that's what it was. And they came back 4 years later with George McGovern. So who are the Democrats going to nominate in 2028 based on that predicate? So Jim says, okay, the only thing I like about that predicate, Hugh, you know what happened right after 1968? The Jets won the Super Bowl. There you go. So Hugh says, there you go. If they're going to find the George McGovern of 2028, who is the George McGovern? I think I know who it is. So Jim says it's Gavin Newsom, and Hugh says it's AOC. They are really going to go AOC. She's bored in the White House. She's in the minority. She can raise the money. It's going to be 100% AOC. Are you a skeptic? Jim says, yeah, but I think there's going to be you see the reaction to Brian Thompson. There's just this inchoate rage amongst liberals right now. And Hugh says it's going to turn into a draft AOC movement soon. So it seems like there's something looming in the background that people feel like 2028 is very far off, and the Democrats got to come back. Like they lost badly, and they lost to Donald Trump, and he's not even a politician, and he's a crazy rich man, right? Like this is the rhetoric. So they're like, the Democrats got to come back. Like we've seen something like this in history when Richard Nixon beat Hubert Humphrey. So 4 years later, after that happened, we see the Democrats come back with George McGovern. So who is the George McGovern for the Democrats in 2028? So one person says Gavin Newsom, someone says AOC. I actually think they're both probably going to be a presidential candidate. I actually do think that. Possibly. I mean, Gavin Newsom had a really bad stretch there during COVID and a little bit after. And I mean, the worst thing, excuse me, guys. The worst thing is, for your own state to hate you. And California was not happy with Gavin Newsom for a moment. But I don't think that necessarily is going to be the reason why he doesn't get to be a presidential candidate. I just have felt like that. I actually thought we would see him this go around, but we didn't. So maybe Gavin Newsom in 2028. As far as AOC, if they want to bring another female presidential candidate, I can see AOC being, being not necessarily, I don't want to say groomed, but being getting ready to be put in such a position. I thought something else was interesting. I read one article about a month ago, maybe two now, and they said that if we were to have a female president, that she would be a Republican. I kind of subscribe to that as well. I'm not saying it can't be a Democrat. I just think she's gonna have to be super powerful. She's gonna have to be really, really strong. She's gonna have to be really convincing. She's not. She can't be on all this woke stuff. She can't be on all this the whole I don't have to say it, right? Obviously, allowing trans women to play in sports with biological women pissed off a lot of people. So it has to be a person that is compassionate, but also very aware that everyone is, one, not compassionate in the same way, and two, even though we should all know this, views are very different. Just because you think this thing is okay, for people who might have had biological daughters, if you haven't even sat down with any of them and asked any of them what they feel like, then I feel like you're kind of out of your lane when you're making legislation to pass whatever, if you haven't had that type of conversation with a parent who has a biological daughter. That's just my opinion. I really, I don't have anything against trans women, but I just think that we obviously can see that was one of the things that sent a lot of people over the top. So I think that the female presidential candidate, if she was a Democrat, I think she would have to be very strong. She could be woke aware, but she can't be woke, if that makes sense, right? She has to be very aware. And she can't, the rhetoric that's out there right now with you can do whatever you want with your gender, and you can, again, nothing against trans people, but just aware, compassionate for those group of people, but also compassionate for the other group of people. So I'm not saying it can't be a Democrat. The female can't be a Democrat. I'm just saying she has to be strong. She has to be strong, and she can't buy into the madness of what the Democratic Party comes with, especially in the last decade or 12 years. I don't hate the Democrat Party. I don't hate the Republican Party. I just think that a lot of things are getting lost because some small things that don't really matter or shouldn't even be really up for grabs are being talked about and paid way too much attention to. So I'm dying to know what you guys think about this. As always, we're at that point in the video where I'm like, go down in the comment section, blow it up, tell me what you guys thought about it. I wanted to do this live because we're going to start doing a live at least once a week. I haven't picked the exact day yet. I think I'm aiming for Thursday or Friday, where it's just going to be a live every Thursday or Friday. And then my other 2 or 3 days that I'm posting, there'll probably be the videos of things that I covered. But the lives, I'm definitely going to be covering more than one story. So when you guys are in here with me, we'll probably be covering about, 3, 4, 5 stories at once. So we spend some time together. And then I hop off and you'll still see the regular videos throughout the week of whatever I'm covering or reacting to. So yeah, go ahead, guys. Blow up that comment section. First, Bill Maher with the craziness around the holidays. Don't ruin Christmas. We have Christmas coming tomorrow. It's Christmas Eve. And then we have Christmas. We still have New Year's Eve. Listen, don't be going to these parties and these dinners talking about politics if you can't handle it. I personally love to go out to social settings and talk about politics. I love to watch somebody lose it. But if you're the person that's going to lose it and you can't handle the conversation, maybe you shouldn't go that route. Maybe you shouldn't even bring it up. Don't be the person that's like, oh my God, I can't stand that people are having conversations about politics just because you get dysregulated by those conversations. Don't be that person, right? Try to ground yourself, take a couple deep breaths, and if people start talking about politics, be like, all right, I'm out. I'm gonna go get another plate, or I'm going to the bar. It's as simple as that. But yeah, don't ruin the holidays. Politics can't ruin the holidays. How is this even a thing? Another thing, if you are going to talk about politics with family members or friends, hey, do it openly. Like, if you're closed-minded, how about you don't start that conversation, right? If you're trying to convert someone, how about you don't start that conversation, right? This is how fights actually don't start. If you just kind of, I lean this way and I'm going to be really aggressive about it, so maybe I'm not going to do that tonight. And that might just be better for everyone around you that night, right? But yeah, I want to know what you guys think about Bill Maher and people like having struggles around having political conversations around the holidays. What's up with that? We can't have political conversations at work. We can't have political conversations with family around the holidays. Are we really just gonna like quit our jobs and like sever relationships over someone voting Republican or Democrat? That's literally insane to me. But I want to know what you guys think about that. Also, I want to know what you guys think about AOC's loss. What do you think about some news looming in the background that older Democrats are holding on to seats for too long and they're not letting the younger generation step in? I mean, if that's happening, I'm sorry to say this, but at that point, the government can take a lot of advice from Scripture. Because guess what? In Scripture, it says the old can't say we don't need the young, and the young can't say we don't need the old. Do you know why it says that? Because you need the zeal of the young. You need the energy of the young. You need the brazen ideas of the young, and you need the wisdom of the old, right? You need the patience of the older people, of the older generation, right? You need guidance from the older generation. So really, I really don't get this. I don't think it should be just young leaders leading the country or just old leaders. I think that there needs to be a mix. I think it's imperative that there is a mix. This is coming from a millennial. If you give us the entire government, I'm sorry. Vivek might agree with me a little bit. Vivek, don't be mad at me for saying this, even though I think you might agree with me. But if you gave the whole entire government to millennials, we would just blow it up, like probably literally. So yeah, we need the old, and the old need the young. We need each other, So I don't know, but still, the older generation should be wanting the younger generation to step into leadership and to go forward. I mean, like some of these guys that wrote the Declaration of Independence that passed some of the biggest and most boldest and greatest legislature in our country, they were in their 30s when they did it. They were in their 30s. Not to say that someone in their 50s, 60s, 70s doesn't belong there, but I mean, we should definitely be pioneering the next generation to go forth as leaders. So I'm dying to know what you guys think about what Bill Maher says about the Democrats ruining Christmas, about AOC's loss to Gerry Connolly, who is 74 years old and she's 35. I feel like that was a hit on the Democrats. But you guys let me know what you think. Thanks for hanging out with me on the corner, guys. It was great as always. Until next time, be peaceful. Love yourselves. Love one another. Peace.